This is News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO. I'm Matt Martin. We've got Dave King and also Mayor Pope's on the line. Mayor Pope, how are things going?
Good morning, Matt. Good morning, Dave.
Morning.
Things are going okay. We're in uncharted waters, and we try our best every day to make the decisions that first and foremost provide for the safety of our citizens.
So the first thing that I noticed yesterday was the first day that we've had this, but we had more people recovered than those that ended up having the coronavirus. Do you think that that's a fluke, or do you think that's a positive step?
Well, I think it's definitely a positive step. I think one of the things we have to be real conscious of is the numbers. It's far from an exact science. So we're determining recovered several ways, as they explained yesterday during the conference, but a lot of the press conference. But a lot of that has to do with our health department officials or nurses doing follow-up, and so those are phone follow-ups. We're in constant communication with the positive cases, but we don't. Those phone follow-ups are not done on the weekend, so you could have a blip on one day. We are doing investigations on the weekend, so I don't want to read too much into that, but I think it is good news, and I think it goes to the point, proving the point that the vast majority of these cases, in Lubbock's case, more than 85% of our cases so far have not required hospitalization, and they will be. The person that is sick will handle it much like they do a bad case of the flu, and will recover. And so we're pleased with the recoveries.
Well, Mayor, tell me. I think the big news is the announcement that the CDC and many have gotten this thing wrong and it's been way overestimated. What are your thoughts on that?
Say that again. I'm sorry, Dave. The CDC said what?
They have overestimated the effects of this virus.
The deaths, like the amount of deaths, like the 100,000 to 240,000 was overestimated.
And the number of people who will contract it.
Yeah, I've seen some numbers that seem to me to be relatively hard to comprehend based upon our trends. So I'm not surprised that the numbers have moved some. We'll continue to make decisions based upon the best data that we have, and that continues to change. I was on a 2-hour phone call with the governor yesterday. We had this very same discussion about how we adapt as we get more information, and we will continue to do that at a state level and at a local level.
Mayor, what is this shutdown doing to our city budget and
economy?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's the effect on our economy is huge. It's unprecedented. In fact, I looked at some unemployment, some projected unemployment kind of numbers for West Texas. Just in the last day or so, Ray Perryman, the Texas economist, has done some projections around that. So I've looked at those numbers. It's hard to understand the initial impact, and then factor in the impact of what's going to happen with the federal disaster relief, which I think is significant. In fact, it's more than significant. We're really encouraging our businesses to take advantage of that. But
yeah, it's essentially
it's huge for the economy. I think when we talk about the city budget, our budget, is funded by user fees for our business units. Most of those are moving along business as usual, with the exception of the airport. The airport's down some days as much as 90% travel-wise. So that's
hard to imagine.
That's something that we're something that we're keeping our eye on.
Yeah, but as far as
we look at, excuse me, let me finish, please. When you look at the general fund, you ask about the budget. I'm trying to answer the question, Matt. When you think about the general fund, it's the largest portion of that is sales tax. It's a little bit larger than property tax. Sales tax will be the first impact that we see. we've already started to put plans in place to tighten things down. We have a hiring freeze in place. We have taken some of our part-time labor and repositioned them, and I would imagine over time some of that we'll have to take even make more difficult decisions. But right now, we're trying to continue to provide the services that our citizens pay for and expect from us.
Yeah. So as far as the airport's concerned, though, traveling being down is actually a positive thing as far as the spread of the virus, isn't it?
It is.
So
it just plays havoc with the budget, though.
Yeah. So Mayor, as far as moving forward, is there any idea of when we might hit the top end of this and back down the other direction? I know that there's been some at least estimates statewide, but and then do we see an end to this at all?
I think we definitely see an end. I think it appears just some data I was looking at this morning. It appears that the measures that we've taken in Texas are best preparing us to, first of all, weather this virus, withstand any kind of surge, maybe not even have a surge. I think that's the goal, and be ready to start recovering as quick as we can. It's hard to put a date on it. We had discussions yesterday with the governor and his team about that. He's pretty steadfast on the fact that we're going to stay at home until April 30th. His order and our order are consistent in that regard. But we're already starting discussions about how we, begin to what a stair-step recovery would look like. I don't think this is something where you flip the light and we're back to, all systems go. I think we ease back in a bit. So we're working on that. I would hope that's much sooner rather than later, Matt.
Yeah.
Well, we have a texter this morning, Mayor, that says Austin is projected to be at 25% unemployment. What about Lubbock?
Yeah, I saw that projection. Our number doesn't appear to me to be that high, but we don't have firm numbers yet. The workforce TWC has been slammed by unemployment claims. By the way, if any of your listeners are trying to be in contact with them, we talked about this yesterday with the governor. You may have seen yesterday that some of the state Senate, maybe the House too, are sharing some of their legislative staff with TWC so we can be more responsive on the phone to those people who need the benefits that are out there for them. So keep calling, I think, is the message. I don't see ours being 25%, but we'll see those numbers when they as we get closer to that. I do think I spend time every day trying to talk to business owners, small and large, trying to understand how they're weathering this, what kind of actions they've taken. And I've talked to those who've had to make difficult decisions and lay off people, and I've talked to those who are keeping people on. And I think there's many of our businesses are doing all they can to keep their people employed through the month of April. And I talked to a large family business, third-generation family business owner yesterday who said, we're gutting it up, and we're going to keep everybody employed through the month of April with the hope that that's the worst of it and we can start to recover. So it's hard to say what those numbers are going to be, but it will be a significant impact.
Yeah.
All right,
Mayor,
we have to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, this is Matt and Dave here. We're going to go straight to the mayor because I know we really don't have – we're never going to have enough time, but we don't have a lot of time. So, Mayor, we've had a lot of text messages. A lot of them have to do with what the city is going to do about their own budgets. Has there been any talks about how the city is going to make up the difference here as far as how the budgets are going to go and the amount of money coming in?
Well, yes, there have been talks. We've got we're right in the middle of budgeting season, so it's the timing is actually good. We have two budgets to deal with. If you'll last Friday at our emergency meeting, we dedicated part of that time to the city manager talking about what we perceive right now to be the impact on our 2019-2020 budget, the budget we're in currently. And he detailed that. And I would encourage citizens that want to watch that to go to our webpage and pull up the video on demand and he goes through it in quite a bit of detail. We're also even probably more focused on next year's budget, because I think that's when we'll see the more significant impact of this crisis on the revenue side of the budget.
Okay, and is there any talks about potentially taking pay cuts to the employees of the city, or also, I mean, where would you make cuts right now as far as the city's concerned?
Well, I think when you look at having to make cuts, everything is on the table. I went through this in 2000. Actually, it was after the 2011 legislative session when I was on the school board. But we had to find a way to cut close to $10 million out of our budget, and which was about right at 5% of our budget, and that included some significant layoffs. Now we were able to not impact the classroom, but I think we laid off 89 people. That was a very, very difficult decision. Everything is in play. I'm not signaling layoffs, Matt, but
oh yeah, I understand.
But everything's in play, and the good news about that for our citizens is we have to do that work in the light of day. So when we work on budget, or as we work on emergency planning, that's something that everybody will see us do. But we are developing plans as we speak. I've got to tell you that most of my focus has been on responding to what's going on. But we do have people that are spending all of their time on scenarios and different alternatives, contingency plans around what we do with this year's budget and what does next year's budget look like.
Okay, so one of the
Mayor.
Okay,
let me get this in. A texture this morning says, is the mayor generally satisfied with the governor and local state officials' handling of this virus situation?
I think the governor's done a good job. He's in he's had to make difficult decisions, just like we've had to make locally. I think the Texas stay-at-home order is a very good effort. It keeps essential businesses functioning. I think that's critical to our economy. Unfortunately, a lot of our businesses aren't functioning, and it's not fair and it's not right, but that's where we are. So I've been very pleased with the governor's work. He's communicated well. I think we all are frustrated by the lack of some critical supplies, and one of the takeaways from this will be the fact that we need to be better prepared for something like this going forward. But both, not only personal protection equipment, but testing supplies. That's where we missed this as a country, in my opinion, and that'll be one of the learnings from this. And I think if you ask the governor, he would agree with that. But I have nothing but positive things to say about his approach. I'll add one other thing that I think is important. A lot of our virus problems are in nursing homes, long-term care facilities, the like. They are, as you guys know, they're licensed by the state. The folks that license them have been very involved. They've walked step by step with our health department and our public health authority, and we're very thankful for that. They live in Lubbock. The guys that are in charge of this part of the state, they happen to live in Lubbock, so they're right here. In fact, one night earlier this week, we added them to our daily public health call because we wanted to talk through some ideas with them. I think the support we've gotten from them has been very good, and we often are quick to blame the government. In this case, it's a situation where they've helped us try to get our arms around a very difficult problem in the nursing homes.
So, Mayor, we've got about a couple minutes left, but I did want to ask, I know that Councilman Christian has been pushing to get for everybody to wear masks. Is Lubbock going to do anything about that, make any statements, or is that something that they're going to leave to people to decide for themselves?
If you watched the press conference last night, the Public Health Authority made a strong plea on that. Dr. Cook did. He suggested that people wear masks when they leave their home.
Okay.
We're not going to mandate that, Matt. I mean, we're not in the business of mandating, but we're trying to give people the very best advice we can.
Okay, and we got about a minute left. Is there anything that you just want to tell everyone?
Well, first of all, I thank you guys for inviting me to come on and talk to your listeners. We encourage people to stay at home. Easter is going to be difficult. We're doing Easter very different this Sunday, and our churches have adapted, and I'm thankful for our churches and our faith leaders. But just, let's do it differently. When we reach out to family on Easter, which is so important to all of us, let's do it in a virtual manner. Let's stay home. Let's stay safe. Let's use these next 3 weeks to make sure that we are safe and healthy so we can recover quicker. Don't forget the big three. Wash your hands, don't touch your face, and keep your distance. And that's sort of the way I'd like to end.
All right.
Well, Mayor, we are so glad that you took the time to talk to us this morning, and let me assure you that you're welcome anytime that you want to come on this radio station.
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Dave.
All right. Have a good day.